It's Monday, August 17th. In the headlines, National Water Commission working to improve water supply amid drought conditions. Meanwhile, water restrictions become effective today. In business news, decrease in tourism and call center earnings pressures local currency. Regionally, the Caribbean urged to strengthen disaster preparedness. And in sports, Jamaica Kingsmen hand Trinidad and Tobago's Knight Riders their first defeat of CPL campaign. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Minister of Water, Environment and Climate Change, Matthew Samuda, says the National Water Commission has invested in new tanks, reservoirs, improved pipelines, and expanded water treatment capacity to strengthen the country's water systems and better serve Jamaicans. He shared the details during a ministerial update with the Jamaica Information Service. Jamaica's water utility agency, the National Water Commission, operates two major raw water storage facilities. The first supplies the nation's capital, Kingston, and its surrounding environs, the Mona Reservoir in St. Andrew. The second storage facility is the Hermitage Dam in rural St. Andrew. However, at certain periods of the year, we often hear that they are running low.
The primary challenge is not storage. It is a challenge, but it's not the primary challenge. The primary challenge is your distribution network. As the OUR reports annually for the last 40 or so years, in its annual report, we have a very high NRW, non-revenue water, water that is not accounted for, meaning water that you pump, it leaves your pumping station, but you're never able to bill for it. I mean, it leaks out some way along the way, either because of genuine leaks or theft.
Minister Samuda says they are working to correct this issue.
10 years ago, we embarked on a journey to deal with Kingston and St. Andrew and Portmore as a pilot project. That pilot project has achieved leak reduction of 50%. So Kingston was at approximately 71% in 2016. It's now at 38%.
On the matter of expansion, he says the Mona Reservoir is unfinished and studies are being done to see the feasibility of continuing the plans set by the colonial government's Public Works Department in the 1940s. So
we're working in parallel. There's initial engineering designs being done to facilitate the increase in storage for the Mona Reservoir, but we're just doing some checks to ensure that what we assume to be available water is in fact the available water. But there are other elements that would support Mona. That first one is indeed the replacement of the Yallas supply pipeline. That's what brings the raw water from the Yallas River into the Mona Reservoir.
And as for the Hermitage Dam?
We've already started the engineering process and the design process. We expect to be able to sign a full development contract next year for Hermitage Dam that will see the deployment over 7 years, because it will take 7 years construction, to do a $250 million dam wall expansion.
While the NWC continues to work on supply improvement, Jamaicans are being urged to conserve water and reduce non-essential use, helping to ensure that there is enough for our homes, schools, hospitals, and other essential services. 7 parishes will face water prohibition from Monday, August 17, as the government moves to tighten restrictions amid worsening drought conditions. Under the water prohibition, the NWC's water supply should not be used for irrigation or watering of gardens, lawns, grounds, and farms, refilling or supplying of ponds or swimming pools, and or for use other than normal domestic services such as drinking, cooking, washing, bathing, and sanitation. There should be no use of NWC's water supply for washing of vehicles by the use of a hose, watering or washing of roadways, pavements, paths, garages, or outrooms. Any activity requiring excessive or unusual quantities of water. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is urging families and caregivers to collect relatives who have been medically cleared for discharge but remain in public hospitals. In a press release, the ministry explains that the patients are classified as social cases because they no longer require acute medical care. According to the ministry, their continued stay is putting additional pressure on the public health system and occupying beds needed by critically ill patients. The release states that Cornwall Regional Hospital has the highest number of social cases at 65, followed by Savannah Lamar General Hospital with 26, Spanish Stone Hospital with 21, Mapen Hospital with 19, and Kingston Public Hospital with 18. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says hospitals are intended to provide acute care and are not designed to serve as long-term residential facilities. The press release stressed that every occupied hospital bed could delay treatment for another patient waiting in an accident and emergency department, requiring a surgery or needing urgent admission. The Education Ministry is stepping up oversight of Hurricane Melissa repairs at schools amid concerns that work at some institutions is moving too slowly. Portfolio Minister, Senator Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon, says contractors must be held accountable while school leaders are being urged to monitor progress and report delays. Danita Rodney has more in this report.
Speaking at a Region 3 Back-to-School Leadership Summit in Trelawney last week, the Education Minister said that despite funds being allocated and the contracts awarded, the pace of work in some instances has not met expectations.
I am not pleased with the status of much of the repairs. I am not pleased. And what is disappointing is that I know I've worked with the team to push the Ministry of Finance to allocate the funds to education, and we got the funds allocated and we've done the contracts, but then we don't see the work finished.
Dr. Morris-Dixon says she is conducting school visits, including unannounced inspections, to get a first-hand assessment of the progress of Hurricane Melissa repairs.
Yesterday, I had to start doing something that I didn't really want to do, but I have to do. I had to go to schools unannounced. I don't like going to a school and the principal not know and the VP not know. But I was going to look at where the repair is. The problem is when they hear I'm coming, everybody working. So yesterday I went unannounced to see whether or not there was work happening. And again, I say I was disappointed. Big time.
The minister is urging contractors to keep school administrators updated on repair timelines, particularly where projects are unlikely to be completed by the start of the new school year.
We have an obligation to ensure that it is spent properly. And so as government, we prioritize the fixing of schools this year, but we have to have our contractors work with us, or else we're not going to get what we need and our schools will not be ready. And sometimes it's not going to be ready. You know, when I go to some schools, the contractor will be honest and say, look, this is what will be ready for September. These pieces will not be ready in time. They'll be ready mid-October or maybe late December. That's important. The school needs to be kept informed, because you have to make decisions about September. How do you make decisions if you don't know what's the timeline? And so that's what I'm asking for from the contractors, and I'm asking you as the leadership of the schools to demand that also. And where it's not working, as I said, get to the RD so that she is aware of where the problems are.
Reporting for the news on PBCJ, I am Danita Rodney.
In the business report, the foreign exchange market is being affected by a reported decline of about $220 million in earnings from the business process outsourcing and tourism sectors. As a result, the Bank of Jamaica is reporting another significant excess demand for foreign exchange, with more than 139 million in unmet demand over the last 2 days. The central bank intervened in the foreign exchange market, offering $40 million against demand of about $110 million, resulting in a $70 million unmet demand. This after the BOJ pumped $40 million on Thursday, but received a demand for approximately $109 million, leaving $69 million unsatisfied. The latest figures come as Jamaica continues to face a substantial foreign exchange gap following a trade deficit of approximately $2 billion during the first 4 months of this year. Microfinance company Dollar has turned its focus on helping the transportation sector recover in Western Jamaica as part of its growth strategy to offer loans where businesses are rebuilding following recent hurricane disruptions. The company says it is directing capital to businesses that need it most, while at the same time targeting opportunities that can deliver strong returns. The company is putting greater emphasis on the quality and security of those loans. Denise Williams has more news on the financial market.
For the trading period of August 14, 2026, the most actively traded securities were Trans-Jamaica Highway Limited with 2,149,848 units, Dollar Financial Services Limited with 3,883,203 units, Atlantic Hardware and Plumbing Limited shares with 1,235,609 units. Investor activity remained concentrated in distribution and transportation plays, signaling continued interest in dividend-producing and strategic assets. Turning to the foreign exchange market based on Bank of Jamaica data for August 14, 2026. Forex traders recorded significant activity with strong demand across major currencies. For the US dollar, trading margins reflected steady liquidity, with the US selling at $158.30 and buying at $157.11. For the Canadian dollar, moderate gains supported by 49-cent transaction spreads. The Canadian dollar sold for $114.52 and was bought for $114.03. For the British pound, continued volatility offered short-term trading opportunities of $1.65 in profits for the banks. The British pound sold for $214.84 and was bought for $213.19. These movements underscore the importance of cash flow timing and currency awareness for businesses managing import costs, debt servicing, or overseas exposure. For our credit report tip of the day, when food, housing, utilities, and transportation rise faster than wages, the pressure eventually shows up in the credit file, but usually indirectly. So inflation, which is rising prices, tends to move you if you're not careful in this path. First, your balance on your credit cards or your loans go up, which mean higher utilization of credit, which can cause difficulty making payments, which leads to late payments and then collection calls and eventually lower credit worthiness. The important distinction is that inflation itself doesn't lower your credit score. The financial behaviors caused by the pressure of inflation can. The ultimate goal isn't merely a higher credit score, because credit worthiness gives you access to capital. Then income gives you the ability to service capital. And then assets give you financial independence from your labor. That's the progression. So when food prices rise and salaries remain stagnant, the answer isn't simply stop using credit, it's protect your credit while simultaneously working to increase income, preserve cash, and acquire assets. And that's today's Business Report. I'm Denise Williams. Until next time, stay informed, stay intentional, and keep building forward. See you soon.
In regional news, the Caribbean is being urged to move beyond simply responding to disasters and instead strengthen its ability to anticipate, manage, and recover from increasingly complex threats. The call came at a validation workshop in Barbados focused on building the next level of the region's regional response mechanism. CBC News' Deanza Roberts has more.
For decades, Caribbean countries have relied on regional cooperation to provide support when disaster strikes. But disaster officials say the threats facing the region are changing and the response system must change with them. At a validation workshop in Barbados, regional and international partners are examining how to build what is being described as a next-level regional response mechanism. The initiative is being driven by the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, CDEMA. Deputy Executive Director of CDEMA, Lieutenant Colonel Kester Craig, says the region is confronting stronger and more complex threats.
We are confronted by more intense hydrometeorological events. Multiple islands being affected at the same time. Cascading hazards, disruption to the supply chains, and increasingly complex technological and biological hazards.
The workshop is reviewing a draft strategic document, logical framework, roadmap for implementation, and a proposed monitoring and evaluation approach. Minister of Home Affairs and Information Gregory Nichols says the region must rethink how it approaches disasters.
We are experiencing stronger hurricanes, more intense rainfall events, prolonged droughts, coastal erosion, even public health emergencies, technological disruptions, and threats that often occur simultaneously or trigger cascading impacts across multiple sectors and countries. And as I relook at this list, only between yesterday and today, I can tick off about 4 or 5 of these challenges that we were confronting at the same time. These challenges before us demand that we rethink how we prepare for, respond to, and recover from disasters.
The minister says that means moving away from reacting to disasters after they occur and towards anticipating risk before they become emergencies. That approach includes greater investment in risk reduction, stronger early warning systems, technology and data, stronger institutions, and greater community involvement.
Disaster management, however, requires a broader and more strategic approach. It compels us to consider the entire disaster cycle: prevention, mitigation, preparedness, response, recovery, and resilience building. It is a shift from reacting to anticipating, a shift from responding to events to managing risk, a shift from restoring what was lost to building back stronger and safer. And ultimately, it is a shift from vulnerability to resilience.
The 3-day validation workshop is expected to help shape a strategic direction and operational framework for the next level regional response mechanism. Deanza Roberts, CBC News.
President of the Caribbean Court of Justice, Justice Winston Anderson, is rejecting allegations of panel fixing and attempts to influence the outcome of cases at the regional court. The response followed leaked emails in which fellow judges raised serious concerns about his leadership. While acknowledging that he may have handled a dispute over judicial dress too strongly, Justice Anderson insists the CCJ remains committed to serving the region with independence, fairness, and integrity. ABS News' Nicola Barreto reports.
The president of the Caribbean Court of Justice says recent reports about the court have caused concern, anxiety, and what he describes as profound sadness across the region. He first addressed what he deems is the most troubling issue. He says, quote, "I condemn in the strongest possible terms the unauthorized disclosure and publication of confidential material relating to the internal deliberations and confidential correspondence of the court. Such disclosures and their publication are wholly unacceptable and strike at one of the fundamental principles upon which every independent judiciary depends." End quote. Let's break this down. The CCJ president is addressing these allegations. 1. Consultation. 2. Judicial dress code. 3. Panel composition or panel fixing. 4. Influencing judgments. 5. Guyana. And 6. The court's work during the past year. With reference to the judicial dress code, let's place into context. The CCJ president makes reference to several incidents involving the judicial dress code within the 2025-2026 period. However, he placed focus on the controversy surrounding the removal of a judge from an interlocutory panel in the case of D'Almada versus the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago. He says the decision was based solely on the judge's refusal to follow what he describes as established CCJ practice and had nothing to do with the judge's view on the case. He acknowledges that he may have approached the dress code issue too strongly. On the allegation of panel fixing, which the president has strongly rejected, he insists that the composition of panels has always been part of the president's administrative responsibility and has never been used to influence the outcome of a case. He also denies attempting to influence judicial decisions. Going forward, the CCJ president says every CCJ judge will be required to sit on every panel unless the judge has a legitimate reason to opt out and is recused. He proposes broader regional consultation on whether national dress should be permitted in court proceedings. He concludes, "I undertake that the court will continue to hear and determine the cases that come before us, to discharge faithfully our responsibilities under the agreement establishing the court and the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, and to serve the people of this region with independence, fairness, and integrity, deserving of the trust and confidence of the Caribbean people."
In sports, the Trinbago Knight Riders tasted defeat Saturday night against the Jamaican Kingsmen at Sabina Park. The Jamaicans were led by Kirk McKenzie at the top of the order before closing off with some big hits to seal a 5-wicket win in Kingston. Wayne Cunningham brings us a breakdown of the match.
The Trinbago Knight Riders beat the St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots in their opener of the Caribbean Premier League and welcomed back Kyron Pollard and Nicholas Puran to their lineup and were now facing a team in the Jamaica Kingsmen who lost their 3 opening matches. So the stakes looked good for TKR, and it showed early when they were sent into bat at Sabina Park. Openers Colin Monroe and Alex Hales made 16 and 29 respectively before they were dismissed with a score on 37 and on 70. Their departure made way for the skipper Nicholas Puran and former captain Kyron Pollard. The duo, returning from the 100 tournament in England, took over this contest in a 67-run partnership, both men adding 44 runs to the cause. When they departed, TKR stood at 149 for 5 with just 3 overs to go. Jayed Gooley, with an unbeaten 14 and Sunil Narayan's rapid-fire 19 not out, pushed the Knight Riders to 182 for 6 to close their innings in Kingston. The Jamaicans, who have been inconsistent with the bat, stunned the visitors with their response courtesy Kirk McKenzie. He, along with fellow opener Reza Hendricks, resisted what the TKR bowlers threw at them, getting the hosts to 93 before the loss of the first wicket. Usman Tariq, who returned to the TKR lineup, removed both men. Hendricks on 37, Mackenzie with 69, which included 6 sixes and 6 fours. Credit to Knight Riders, who pegged back this contest in the middle overs from 103 for 2 to 126 for 4. But then the veterans, Captain Robman Powell with 29 not out and Andre Russell with 27, powered the Jamaica Kingsmen to 183 for 5 to take the 5-wicket win with 8 balls to spare. Kirk Mackenzie was named Player of the Match. Being Cunningham, TTT Sport.
The Barbados Tridents are now top of the Republic Bank Caribbean Premier League table after defeating the St. Lucia Kings by 9 runs in a rain-affected match on Sunday. The match was reduced to 18 overs per side after rain delayed the start by more than an hour. Player of the match, Sherfane Rutherford, led the Tridents with a blistering 61 of 31 balls, including 5 sixes and 3 fours, as Barbados posted 177 for 5. In reply, the Kings appeared on course for victory with Andre August smashing 63 from 34 balls. But Gudakesh Muti changed the momentum, taking 3 for 22 as the home side finished on 168 for 7. Matthew Ford hit an unbeaten 24 from 17 balls, but the Kings fell 9 runs short. The result gives the Tridents their second consecutive victory and moves them to the top of the CPL standings. And that's it for the news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thanks for watching.